Hi, Estelle, or somebody.
It's Dan. Hi, how are you?
Sorry. Fine. How are you?
Good.
Hold on. I got to go get something. I'll put on mute.
Hi.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Estelle.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hey, Lois.
And David.
And
And David. And David.
okay.
Last but not least.
The last shall be first, they say. Yes, that's true. Okay. Oh, wrong book.
I don't even know what that book is, Lois. What book is that?
It's somewhere in the New Testament.
The last shall be first, it says?
Yeah. And last shall be first, and a little child will lead them, something like that.
Oh, that sounds like, oh, interesting. That could be a quote like from Yeshayahu or something like that.
That could be.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I read a very interesting article of Wikipedia of all places.
Yeah.
It's about the notion of the Satan and how it's treated in Catholic texts and it's treated in Jewish texts, and how the identification with him as Lucifer,
Right.
but the whole it's really a very, very interesting article. And the Catholic view is a lot more nuanced than we give it credit for.
Usually they are.
It's not a Manichaean sort of situation. They don't believe that the God, they believe he's a fallen angel. We don't believe he's a fallen angel. He's the accuser. He's still part of the heavenly tribunal.
Right.
He's both God, he's both the adversary of the Jewish people, and he's the adversary in a way of God, but he's also God's messenger. When he said he affects Job by giving him the power of the Son. But it's clear that in Catholic theology, he's a person. He's always a person. He's a creature.
Right. But the problem, this is not just the Catholics, this is the problem with even Protestants. It is polytheism, because they believe he has a separate realm.
Kingdom. Yes, he has kingdom. He has power over other demons.
No, not just over other demons. He has separate power from God. They believe he has separate power from God. He has power over his own realm. Even the Catholics believe that it may not be forever, but they believe that he has independent power from God, and he has some kind of independent realm in which God does not control. And
chooses. It's not that God can't. God chooses.
It does even no.
Gave up his choice, I think.
No, because I've heard Catholics explain why the problem of the problem of evil is not a problem for them. In other words, how does God cause evil or allow for evil? It's not a problem for them because God doesn't. It's in the realm of Satan. It's a separate power, and therefore it doesn't come from God. And I'm fairly certain.
How could God be omnipotent then?
Again, exactly.
But
It
no.
is a polytheism. In fact, it's cited by almost every Jewish theologian that talks about Christianity. It is cited as the greatest problem of Christianity. It's why the Muslims don't believe that Christians are monotheists. It's not the Trinity that is the main problem, because there are Jewish commentaries who suggest the Trinity could be just a mistaken theology because they insist that somehow three can be one. But the problem of their separation of powers, of that somehow Satan or the devil or Lucifer, whoever it is, somehow has an independent domain of God, that this is a kind of holdover from paganism, and it's a polytheism. And I've had this conversation with evangelicals before, and they hold it the same as the Catholics, that there is that he has this separate realm, and it's an important part of their theology. It's very important because God is not the source of evil in this way. So, and it's the problem of monotheism. It's a unique problem of monotheism, which they don't share. In a certain way, they cleverly get out of it, but the only way they get out of it is because they really are polytheistic. Just see it. Look at it. I think you'll see that it is the case.
But he has no power over God's kingdom.
He has power. He has a separate kingdom. This is like in Zoroastrianism. There's a power of light. There's a power of darkness. They each have their separate realm. He has a separate realm, a separate kingdom over which God has no influence.
Well, then how does he affect?
I don't understand. I don't understand. Obviously, they've got something they do with it. But if you speak to people who when they're bringing up like the problems of Christianity, this problem is the most pernicious. This is the one that ends up getting brought up as really the most problematic, is how they view the devil. But I look forward to you researching that more. I don't want to, but you research it more.
Don't.
So yesterday we were talking about Kriyat Shema, and then we got, because the Rambam for some reason used this as an opportunity to talk about tefillah again, and the times of tefillah. He does it because he's contrasting with the Shema. So yesterday I got sort of distracted trying to find that source from Rabbi Soloveitchik, where he was talking about the Amida and standing before God in a kind of prophetic experience. Although I did at the end, we had the quote from the Rabbi Yosef Kara from the Shulchan Aruch, where he talked about something like that. But I wanted to get back to the Shema. So this when the Rambam talks about the Shema, he doesn't necessarily talk about what you're fulfilling a mitzvah by reading the Shema. He doesn't identify what the Shema is, and he doesn't necessarily talk about what your intent is supposed to be. What are your options for what the Shema is? So one option is line number 1, which is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and then ve'ahavta, because they are said together. There are the 3 paragraphs of the Shema are 2 of them are in Deuteronomy, and 1 of them is in Bamidbar, in Numbers, in Bamidbar. The 2 that are in Deuteronomy are the Shema, which again is written as the Shema and the Ve'ahavta together, and that is in the Torah portion of Ve'et Hanan. So let's just go there for a second. Why did I do that? I so easily could have just stayed at Smart. Yeah. Back to Tanakh. Okay, here we go. Tanakh. Deuteronomy. I don't know. It's either 4 or 5.
What are you doing? You're making the sack. Whoa, 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 whoa.
1 second.
I'm done.
Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting close.
There it is.
There it is. Here we go. Shema Yisrael. Here we go. Chapter 6. So this is what some people call the first chapter of the Shema. You have the first statement, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Here is the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Then you have V'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha. You shall love the Lord your God b'chol lavav, b'chol nafsho, b'chol miyodecha, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. V'hayu advarim ha'ela, and then these words, Asher anochim etzav chayom, which I command you this day, shall be on your heart. You shall teach them to your children. You shall speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you're walking along the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And he cited this as the biblical command to say the Shema in the evening and in the morning, the Shachvachav Kumecha. And then it says you shall tie them. This is tefillin. You shall tie them on your hand, and there shall be a sign before your eyes. So that's tefillin. So that's why we have Shema in the tefillin. And then you'll write them on the doorpost of your house. That's why we have the Shema on the mezuzah. And then, all right, so that's what some people call paragraph number 1. So you have the first declarative statement, Shema, and then that paragraph number 1. So when it says that you're supposed to say the Shema, when the Rambam says it's a mitzvah, a biblical mitzvah to say the Shema, what does it mean? Does it mean this? Certainly this has to be part of it. But is this the only part of it? We know it's part of it because it's first of all called the Shema, and second of all, in it is the command to say it at night and the day, which he said is part of the biblical command. All right, so that's the first paragraph, and then try chapter 11. All right, and then we have what we call the second paragraph, which is V'hoya im shamoa. So if you listen to the commandments, which I'm commanding you this day, to love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. By the way, that's the source for the biblical commandment to pray, which he quoted earlier. This is the source because it says, which is the service of the heart. It is prayer. So, and then God says he's going to there's going to be rain in its proper times, the early and late rain, and there's going to be rains, and there's going to be grasses for your animals. You're going to v'achalta v'savata, you will eat and be satisfied. And then be careful not to turn away from the service of God and serve others and bow down to them. Then God's going to get angry and there's not going to be rain. And you will end up having to leave this good land which God is giving to you. And again, put this on your heart and tie it on as a sign on your arms and between your eyes, and teach it to your children to speak of them when you're sitting in your house and going on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up, and write them on the mezuzahs of your house, so that your days will be long, the days of your children will be long on the earth which I command to you, for as long as there is a heaven over earth. So that is paragraph number 2. And then paragraph number 3 is in Bamidbar. I go back here. It was supposed to be Shlach. Here, Shlach, right? And here's the 3rd paragraph. And God says to Moshe, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, they shall make for them tzitzis on the corners of their garments for all generations. You should put them on the corner. And when you put them on the corner, there should be a blue thread. And these will be tzitzis. When you see them, you'll remember all the mitzvahs of God. You'll do them. You won't travel after your heart and after your eyes, which you're wont to do when you're lustful. And you'll remember them and do all the mitzvahs, and you will be holy unto God. I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt to be for you a God. I am the Lord your God. So that is our 3rd paragraph. So the question is, what does it mean when it says to say the Shema? Like what does it mean? You know, what is the Shema? Is the Shema the 1st paragraph? Is it the 1st and 2nd paragraph? Is it the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd paragraph? So this is back in the Rambam in his codes. So again, we're studying the book of Mitzvahs, but the book of Mitzvahs is itself a kind of introduction to his codes. So in the codes, the Rambam says twice a day we read the Kriyat Shema in the evening and in the morning, as it says, which is a quote from both the 1st and 2nd paragraphs. At the time when people begin to sleep is night, which is night, and at the time when people get up, which is day. So that follows Hillel's interpretation. Umahu Koreh. What is he supposed to read? Shlosha Parshios. So according to the Rambam, the mitzvah is to read all 3. Eluhain, and these are them. Shema, which is that paragraph we read from chapter 6. Then Vahim Shema from chapter 11, and Vayomer from Bamidbar. Umakdimili kros Parsha Shema. And why do we, so those are the 3 chapters. Why do we start with the Shema? Because it has Yichud Hashem, it has the unification of God's name. So it seems like when you read the Shema, you're fulfilling the mitzvah of unifying God's name, which was mitzvah number 2. And it also has loving God, the mitzvah of loving God, and the studying, Shuhu Ikra Gadol Shakol Tolibo, which is the great foundation or principle upon which everything depends. So the Kriya Shema, he's saying the reason it comes first is because you are able to unify God's name. It talks about loving God and the importance of study about God's word. So that's why chapter number 1 gets, even though it's out of order really, because the first of these paragraphs is in the Torah portion of Shlach, it's in Bamidbar. So if you were going in chronological order, you would read the one about tzitzis first, then you'd read the Shema, then you'd read V'haim Shemoah. But you don't go in chronological order. You start with the Shema. I mean, that's already indicated by the fact that we call it the Shema. And that's the reasons. And after that is V'haya im Shemoah, which was chapter 11, which is also the answer to that famous question. What should you do when your business is failing? Chapter 11. Because there it talks about if you listen to God and follow the mitzvahs, good things will happen. If you don't, bad things will happen. And then the parsha of tzitzis, shagam hi yesh bat tzivui zechiras kol mitzvahs. And after that, you have tzitzis, which also has a command to remember all the mitzvahs, because it says over there, you will see them and you will remember all the mitzvahs. Okay. And then he just says, even though there is no mitzvah of tzitzis at night, mitzvah of tzitzis is only during the day, because it mentions the going out of Egypt, and we have a mitzvah to remember the going out of Egypt. That's a special mitzvah. He's going to eventually mention it, to remember each day the going out of Egypt. And if you remember from your Haggadah, there was a discussion about, do you mention it at night as Chiyos Yitzias Mitzrayim? And that was Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who said, I'm like a man of 70. And I wasn't able to prove that we're supposed to say it to remember Yitzias Mitzrayim at night until, etc. So, but that's why we say that third paragraph even in at night. You might think you don't have to, but we do it. Ukriyas shalosh parshas elu al seder zehi hanikres kriya shema. So the Rambam says, reading these 3 sections in this order is what we mean by kriyat shema. So the biblical command to do kriyat shema is those 3 paragraphs. That's what we mean when we say kriyat shema. When we talk about the mitzvah to say kriyat shema.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
So I have a very, very short Shema story. We were down in Cancun about probably 6 or 7 years ago. And on the beach, there was a gentleman and with his family, and he was wearing a kippah. And we started talking, and he said, you know, I'm the rabbi of a Chabad in Massachusetts. He said, would you come upstairs with me and we'll lay tefillin and say Shema? I assume that it's a practice of Chabad to get you to perform a mitzvah.
Yes,
so,
it is. Yeah.
Right. And so we did, and he said, wait, I'll get you a sitter. And I said, I don't need it. I can say it by heart. I say it every day, every morning and every night. When I said the first and second paragraphs, and I started on the third, he said, wait, that's all you need. I said, well, I read all of it. And he was, whoa, that's really good.
Wait, so what did he say is all you need?
He said, no, he just said, that's all we're going to say for the mitzvah. And I said, I let's say the rest of it. I can read it.
So he just did the first paragraph.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So again, we're going to see that this is a subject of the Rambam. It's interesting because the Rambam here clearly says that the mitzvah of saying the Shema is all 3. Just trying to see if somebody actually has the list here. All right. Just gonna quickly look this up here. These I'm looking at. I know. Let's just see. Yeah, of course, I don't know why, but in the last while, I have just not done well with searching for things. But anyways, I know there is a machlokas that Rashi and Tosfot do not agree with the Rambam. Let's see. There we go. The Rambam says, all right, I'm just gonna read, instead of going to this, I'm just gonna read this to you. Nachmanides, the Ramban, says that the mitzvah is only the first line. The biblical commandment is just the first line, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The students of Rabbeinu Yonah in the name of the Rif say it's the first paragraph, although others say that the Rif holds it's only the first pasuk, like the Rambam. Rabbeinu Tam holds all three verses are biblical. I feel like there was also, I remember like in Daf Yomi, I remember Rabbi Rosner mentioning that there's also an opinion that it's just the first paragraph. There's like Rashi and Tosha somewhere that it's just the first. It's the first paragraph, and the other one holds it's the first and second paragraph. But I don't see that in this person. This is Halachapedia, who's pretty good. They're pretty good about. Okay, anyways. So you see that there are different opinions. It does look from ours that the Rambam holds it's all three, although there are some people who want to suggest he might hold differently. But from ours, it looks clearly like he holds that the fulfillment of the mitzvah is all three paragraphs. Okay, now so Nachmanides, the Rambam counts this as one mitzvah. He says it's the mitzvah to read the Shema or to say the Shema. It has two sections. There's a mitzvah to read the Shema, and the mitzvah is fulfilled by reading it at night and reading it during the day. The Ramban counts that as two separate mitzvos. So one of the distinctions would be, let's say I remembered to say the Shema at night, but I didn't remember to say the Shema in the morning. So according to the Rambam, I haven't completely fulfilled the mitzvah, maybe. I've only fulfilled part of it. Are they two components? In other words, is there a daily requirement to say the Shema? In order to fulfill that, I have to say it at night or during the day. Or is it possible that he just means there's a mitzvah to say the Shema and you do it separately at night during the day? I mean, that would be a matter of discussion. According to the Ramban, Nachmanides, there are two separate mitzvahs. There's the mitzvah to say it at night and the mitzvah to say it during the day. All right, we're not gonna spend too much time on that. All right, now we saw when we looked at the Rambam that there are different mitzvos that you are fulfilling when you say the Shema. There's the mitzvah, the mitzvah to say the Shema, but there's also other mitzvahs that are being fulfilled. There's the mitzvah of unifying God's name by declaring God as one. There's a mitzvah, he made it sound like, or it seems like that it is part of the mitzvah of loving God. And the mitzvah of studying about God. There are places where it talks about the mitzvah to study each day, that it's a requirement to study Torah each day. And there are those who say that you minimally fulfill the mitzvah to study Torah each day by saying the Kriya Shema in the evening and in the morning. So the saying of the Kriya Shema is also a fulfillment of the mitzvah to study Torah. And then we saw that there is a mitzvah of remembering the going out of Egypt. So it's really quite a few mitzvahs that you're fulfilling when you say the Shema. I don't know if there's any other prayer that we have that it gives you quite that opportunity to fulfill such essential mitzvahs. It's not a prayer per se. If you think about prayer as a conversation between you and God, which I think a lot of it is, either it may not, sometimes it's praise of God, sometimes you're asking something of God, sometimes you're thanking God, but it's part of a conversation between you and God. The Shema is not that. The Shema is more like a declaration. It's in some ways at the very least, it's a pledge of allegiance, so to speak. But it's
Rabbi?
more like, yeah, go ahead.
So all those mitzvahs bundled together in the Shema, remembering Egypt and praising, if a woman is not required to say it, so she doesn't, I mean, isn't she required to remember Egypt every day? I mean, no.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily have to do it with the Shema. That is a convenient way to do it.
So that's
She
listed
may
as a
say
separate.
pragmatically, it could be convenient for a woman to say the Shema because she gets all these mitzvahs. She has a mitzvah to unify God's name. She has a mitzvah to accept. He doesn't mention accepting the yoke of heaven, but that is one of the intentions we have, is accepting the yoke of heaven. So, so this would be convenient, but she technically doesn't have to do it via the Shema. Like in some Sidurim, they have what they call the 6 remembrances. And so there's some people who say those 6 remembrances, or she could say it in her own words and technically she would fulfill it. But I agree with you. It would be, it's a very pragmatic thing to say. Plus it's the declaration of accepting the yoke of heaven. That's one of the intents we have, that you're pledging allegiance to God. So it makes it's a very important opportunity, but it just, she doesn't have to. And also she doesn't have to necessarily do it twice. I don't know what, according to the Ramban, she wouldn't have to do, not only does she not have to do it, but she wouldn't have to do it twice a day. So I guess the Rambam would say that too. She doesn't have to do it twice a day. So that means that, like, for instance, some of these things, these other mitzvahs that she's getting, like unifying God's name, there's not necessarily a responsibility to unify God's name twice a day. Or if she wants to fulfill the mitzvah of learning, she doesn't have to do that twice a day. So yes, it would be pragmatically useful. I think you'll find that most Ashkenazim encourage women to daven. In the yeshivish world, they tend to encourage women to daven Shachris and Mincha, at least. And some people also do Ma'ariv. And one second. Yeah.
I want to wish you and your family a healthy and happy.
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So we'll talk about these things more and look forward to doing that on Monday. Welcome back, Stuart and Maxine. It's great I'm sorry that you guys had issues reconnecting. And I look forward to studying with everybody on Monday. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye, guys. I'm very grateful to learn with you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.